it's embarrassing to be rejected by someone.
Go experience some. You go get
Corporate breakfast.
you will get unfortunately plenty times.
I'm like, I'm
Can't
a babe.
have you
Oh.
checked me out?
Hey, I'm a babe. How dare you? If you're serious about how you show up in your relationships, your walk with God and life,
Well, that makes you one of us. It's Anu and Ololade here, and you're welcome to Let's Toast to Life.
in every episode, we have honest conversations about relationships, your fave, personal growth, and faith.
Sounds like what you love? Then plug in.
And let's toast to life together. Hello, peeps. How's it going?
Hello, everyone. Welcome back.
Cool. Just a sidebar. Like it's an aside, but I just want to rant about one of my favorite meals of all time right now. It's called moi moi. And like I said, it's so random. I'm just reflecting on how much I love moi moi. You guys, I love food. I hope you know that. So if you love me, if you guys are like, oh, I just love
Just
this babe,
give my wife moi moi.
please, no, not just moi moi. Just give me money. Let me use it and buy food or use it and buy ingredients that I'll use and cook what I like. Yeah.
Wow.
I love moi moi. I just wanted to say that.
Moi moi elemi meje.
But it's true, not everybody knows what moi moi is. So, by the way, you guys, in fact, you are welcome. You are welcome because I'm about to share with you a recipe that will change your life. For those of you who know what moi moi is, for those who don't know, moi moi is it's bean cake that is it's like made from beans, typically white, I think black-eyed beans, and you blend it, you put it with some paprika. So paprika is the long bell peppers and some other spices, and you boil it in a foil container. It's so delicious. But the recipe that I want to share with you guys is how you can make the same effect from using lentils.
Orange lentils.
Orange lentils to be specific, and it's so delicious. It was a friend of mine who introduced me to the recipe, and the first time I made it, yeah, the momo was hard like rock, but we have gotten over that phase. The missing ingredient at the time was eggs, and is eggs. So if you want your moi moi or your bean cake to be fluffy, make sure that you put that broken eggs, 2 eggs, 3 eggs, depending on how much you want your bean cake or moi moi to be. Anyway, for those who are not Nigerian, sorry, it's a Nigerian delicacy. Totally love it. And yes,
And
thank you for listening to my rant.
And by the way, the reason why lentils is a game changer is because comparing the price of lentils, the orange lentils, and having to buy like the typical beans that we use for moi moi, you get to save quite a lot, right?
Yep.
You get to save a lot and you can make more quantity with the lentils. It's also less stressful because with lentils you just basically soak in water and after some minutes it's ready to be blended. So it's less effort, it's less expensive, and it tastes also as good.
Equally, sometimes even better depending on how you
make it. And you can also use it for our akara.
fried bean cake.
Fried bean cake. So
Oh,
the moi moi is the
Lord have
boiled
mercy.
one, and then anyways, why are we talking about food?
I really don't know. Maybe because I'm hungry. I think, see, guys, the point is I'm hungry. So maybe let's just get this rolling so that I can get to my food after.
All right then.
Okay. So I would paint a scenario for you, and then from that, over time, our audience will know what we're talking about.
Okay.
So imagine that you made it to a final interview round.
Yeah.
Of course, you're looking for a job, you've been searching for quite a while. Yeah. And you got interviews, made it to a final round for a company that you really want to work for.
Yeah.
And then you were very confident that they were going to give you the job. But then they say, you know what? I'm so sorry. You know how those emails go. Unfortunately, we have to inform you that we have decided to move with another candidate. It's not you, it's us. Your skills are still very valuable, blah, blah, blah. Have you experienced something like this?
Go experience some. You go
corporate breakfast.
you will get unfortunately plenty times. Of course, I have a few times. And
what did it do to you?
The thing about those emails is that the longer you have to wait for it is what makes it very painful. And also when you have high expectations. So for me, I remember one job that I applied for, I literally went till the very end of the interview process, from the first interview to the second interview. And I think there were like 4 stages. And then I traveled to to the city, because it was in a different city, did a presentation. I believe that A-States showed the interviewer, and everybody was like happy. And then I got the email like, unfortunately, we can't move forward, blah blah blah. So having to wait for a while for that, and then you're refreshing your inbox every 2 days or 3 days, like, okay, will this email come? And then you see the unfortunately, it can be very devastating, especially when you have high hopes and you believe you gave your best. Well, I think the with experience, you get to know how to handle those kind of rejection.
Mm. Did it affect your confidence?
For me, I would say yes and no. So, yes, it did, because I believe I delivered, right? I believe I did what was expected. So I was like, I mean, why? Why would they not want me? Like, so there's a part of having to question myself, that did I was this something I said that was wrong, or was it that I didn't come off as confident? You get to question yourself why they chose to let go of you. So that's the yes part. And then the no part is, when I look at it from another angle, I'm like, there are many factors really, especially when you consider the fact that sometimes employers are not necessarily looking for the people that have the best skills. Sometimes they are looking for the people that fit best into their company value. There could be a lot of nuances. So it's not really about you, as they say. Sometimes it's really about them, what they want. So you could be good, you could have all that it takes to deliver on that job, but they're looking for something else, and you might not just have that thing, and that doesn't make you a bad, employee or a bad professional. So yes and no, it affected me in both ways, but I would say more of no, because I was pretty confident in myself and what I can deliver.
It's a good perspective that you just brought about how to internalize the circumstance, right? So I guess at this point, you guys can already deduce that we're talking about rejection. But maybe before we dive deeper into it, I have one more scenario for you.
Yeah,
So you liked someone, you thought
something could happen.
it was going very well, like you were almost confident, pretty confident that this one is gonna last, and then they be like, yeah, they don't really see the relationship working out. It could even be that they did not say anything, they just ghosted.
Hmm.
Because that was a day. Have you had that experience before?
Not to be proud or cheeky, but I've never had that experience.
Okay, me, I've had the
So I
experience,
think
but
you might want to share your experience.
my own experiences, I thought it was going. In fact, I've had more than one now. Wow, there are two. Okay, let me share two. The first one, we kind of liked each other somehow, but not somehow. Like he was feeling me, I was feeling him.
What does feeling you? What does that mean?
Feeling the boy, yeah, feeling the feeling. You don't know what it means.
So how was he feeling you? What was he using to feel you?
He was using feathers to feel. Just kidding. Feeling me in the sense that I could tell that he was attracted to me
Okay, and you were okay. So feeling
and
means
I was
attraction.
attracted to
Okay.
him as well. So we liked each other. We met at work during the NYSC time. This 1 year where you get to serve in a company and work for that company. So what I found was that he was different in terms of values. We had different values. And what I respect about the guy, he told me plain. He was like, he doesn't see this working out because he can see that I am very into my faith and whatnot. And for example, he's the kind of person who would have a relationship and sleep with the girlfriend. For him, premarital sex
Okay.
is not a big deal for him. And for me, obviously, it's a deal breaker. So that was a painful rejection that was necessary because there was no way I was going to compromise on my values. The other scenario was me and this guy liking each other, or maybe in my head, I was liking him and the guy was just being a nice guy, because there are some guys who are just nice and we women tend to take it for
Interest.
interest. So I think I can just say that I received my breakfast because it was like I was in the relationship alone. I was the one making the effort, making the phone calls, and I just noticed that the moment I stopped putting in the effort, he stopped
Yeah.
as well. So that was my own rejection. And in the beginning, of course, it was painful because I'm like, hey, ho, babe, you guys, I'm not proud though, but I can be proud sometimes when it comes to some certain things. I'm like, I'm
Can't,
a babe,
have you
oh.
checked me out?
Hey, I'm a babe. How dare you? But like I had to humble myself and just see it as part of life. So I guess rejection is part of life. So let's talk about the internalizing, which you briefly mentioned.
Yeah.
That sometimes it's not about you, but people have what they're looking for. But oftentimes we make rejection about us,
Yeah.
right? So why do we do that to ourselves?
But it's human now
Mm-hmm.
because we have emotions, right? And at the very core of every human being is a desire to be wanted and to be accepted. There is nobody who doesn't want to be accepted. And so when you experience the very opposites of acceptance, it doesn't feel good because it's pain. It comes with pain, the pain of rejection. So when we experience rejection, we are reacting to what is normal, what is a normal human experience. The challenge, which I guess we'll talk about much later, is when you now make rejection lead you to a destructive path, then that is when you're not able to. Just essentially what I'm saying is when you don't know how to handle rejection. But when you internalize rejection, when you feel the pain, the emotions that come with rejection, you're just being human. You're not doing anything that is, essentially wrong.
Mm-hmm. Okay, since you're talking about the human experience, do you have a memory or what is your earliest memory of being rejected
It will be difficult for me to remember the earliest, but I'm sure
that you remember?
that I remember. What comes to mind would be when I was perhaps in primary school and I got rejected by my peers. Let's say I wanted to play a game, I wanted to join the play, and I get rejected. I'm like, and I'm told, "Oh, don't join us. We don't want to play with you, or give me my ball. I don't want to play my ball with you," or something like that. So that's what I know that I definitely experienced that because that's what children do. If they don't like you, they can like you today and tomorrow they don't like you. Your friends in primary school or in nursery school, and so you experience that as a child. Where your peers don't want to engage.
It's a good thing that you brought up because this doesn't just happen in our childhood, like this particular example. In
Yeah.
fact, there was another scenario that I could have read out to you, and this is like in adult friendships where you are in a friendship circle and then you find out that they all went out for an event.
Mhm.
They met for brunch or lunch or whatnot, and you find out that they did not invite you. Maybe you just saw the pictures online. That's a moment of rejection. And as a child, the way you would process it, maybe you would just go home and be like, Mommy, this person doesn't want to play with me. And mommy will be like, but I will play with you. And children are very easy to convince, easy to shift their mindset, as long as they receive the love and the acceptance from their family, from their parents, from their caretakers, they forget. And they'll
Mhm.
just be like, okay, well, this person is not my friend anymore since they don't want to play with me. And it's not a big deal. But as an adult, the
Yeah.
rejection is much more personal.
Yeah.
You can't run to your parents to say, Mommy,
This
these people
person doesn't
went
want.
out without me, you
Mm,
know. And so there is also that thing that needs to be acknowledged that childhood and adulthood, the way that rejection is experienced and processed is very different, but
absolutely.
it's still a human experience
Yes.
starting from a very young age. So, do you think that we sometimes confuse rejection with failure? Like when something happens to us or someone rejects us, do we feel like we have failed
Yeah.
or not?
Wait, no, this question is a very important question and it's not spoken about a lot, but it's so important because it goes back to your experience as a child. One of the gifts of being in a family, having parents, is that they give you your first experience of unmerited love, of total acceptance, irrespective of who you are, what you've done. You didn't have to even prove anything to your parents for them to love you as a child. And so when you grow up in a family where love and acceptance was shown to you, or where you received a lot of it, it helps you process rejection better as an adult than when you experienced rejection as a child, and you were accepted only when you did something good or when you obeyed your parents, and whenever they realize that you did wrong or you disobeyed, you are rejected. So you immediately associate rejection with failure. And so you grow up with that kind of mindset where anytime people don't like you, people reject you, you associate it with what you experienced as a child, that my parents rejected me as a child because I did not please them, or I did something that they didn't like. And so perhaps the reason why this person is rejecting me is because I've done something that they don't like. So you interpret rejection as the outcome of your feelings and the things that you believe you've fallen short in. So it really goes back to what you experienced as a child. And a lot of people actually suffering from what people call childhood trauma in this area.
Yeah, there's a lot to unpack there, really. Because when I was asking the question, I wasn't even really thinking about it from a childhood perspective and how that can have an impact in your processing of rejection as an adult. But I mean, having listened to you, I think it makes a lot of sense that actually parents have a role to play in helping their children mature into adults that can process rejection and even failure
Yeah.
and not personalize it too much. Because one thing that could happen, unfortunately, is people who tend to experience rejection or failure and not process it well can unfortunately get into this rabbit hole of mediocre behaviors. So, say for instance, you applied for a job, you didn't get the job, you applied for another one, you didn't get the job. Or if you don't have a healthy way of dealing with this rejection, you tend to just give up and not just do the barest minimum because you just feel like, in any case, the world is out to get you, you cannot succeed, forgetting that failure is actually part of the journey towards success.
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't think that there are many billionaires who stumbled on their wealth without failing, without
Yeah.
being rejected. In fact, this YouTube channel that we watch, School of Hard Knocks,
Yeah.
where the guy goes out interviewing different billionaires, asking them how they got their wealth, how they
Yeah.
got rich. He sometimes asks a question: did you get a lot of no's when you walked into boardrooms to pitch your idea or whatnot? And these people are like, of course. Of course, you
Yeah.
have to be so comfortable with rejection, because otherwise there is no way you can really push yourself towards progress. Like every no is a step further,
Yeah.
right? So we've already spoken about the different areas where we tend to experience rejection. So most of the time it's relating to job, career,
Relationships.
relationships, sometimes your personal plans. You have a plan, but somehow it doesn't work out. Now, I would like us to really focus on the response to rejection, because I think it's an important aspect of dealing with it. Yeah. So what emotions, first off, do we usually, should I say, experience or exhibit when we go through phases of rejection?
Yeah.
If you could name like two or three, what would those be typically when people, like, experience rejection?
There's definitely pain when you go through rejection of any sort. There is disappointment,
Absolutely.
especially, and the root cause of disappointment is unmet expectation.
There's also anger,
Yes, there's
serious
anger.
anger.
Yeah, there's
There's
anger,
sadness too.
of course.
There's also embarrassment. I feel like embarrassment is a very common emotion when you talk about rejection.
Yeah.
Like, is a thing of shyness, and shyness, not like, oh, I'm shy, people are looking at me, but like, it's embarrassing to be rejected by someone.
Yeah.
You just feel like you're naked somehow.
Mm-hmm.
It's a very, I feel like, of all the emotions, for me, when I've experienced rejection, it's embarrassment that I would say has topped it. Embarrassment and feeling of insecurity, that maybe I'm not enough.
Yeah.
But I'm glad we're having this conversation. And I'm also glad that I have over time gotten better at processing rejection.
Yeah.
Because what you said in the very beginning, that it's not about you most of the time. And even if it is about you,
Then
it is what
you,
it
yeah, and
is.
then you work on it.
You work on it, whatever that
Yeah,
is.
because so let's talk about the most important thing about rejection is knowing how to handle it, like how to process rejection and how to handle it so that it doesn't destroy you, but it actually builds you. Because rejection can actually build you. It depends on how you handle it. One of the things that I believe strongly that helps in handling rejection is just coming to terms that there's that possibility exists. If you go to someone and you want to ask for anything from anyone, you must always know that there are two options at least. There could be more options, but there is always a yes option and a no option. So what makes a lot of people devastated with rejection is somehow they blocked in their mind that they can never be rejected. And that could be because they were always accepted. And that's the other side of how childhood upbringing can also be, it can be counterproductive. Because if you grew up always being accepted, irrespective of what you've done, which is good, and you're not developed, you didn't experience rejection, and you are not trained on how to handle rejection. When you start experiencing rejection, it's going to like devastate you because you've always been accepted. And so this is the other extreme, where if you've always been accepted as a child and you're always loved, in your mind there
Or
is no.
treated with, I don't know, like treated in a very special way.
Yes.
Like imagine being a billionaire's child, and the billionaire is maybe the billionaire dealt with childhood trauma. They rose from poverty to stardom, and they feel like now they're gonna give their child everything they did not have. So they are shielding that child, make sure that the child is surrounded by only sayers, people who are always like, yes, yes, yes. They get everything the child wants. The child gets to pick the friends. The child is the boss. The child is the life of the party and all that. That kind of child will not know what it means to experience rejection, because
Yes.
he or she is shielded from a very young age.
Yes.
And if life happens where all the wealth is gone and the child has to build from ground up, my goodness,
Yeah,
that would
it's
be
is very devastating, very terrible.
absolutely.
So that is the other extreme, which is not good. We almost come to terms that rejection is part of life, like you said, and it's not every door that you try to open that would open for you. And then sometimes you might even open the door and the person on the at the other side of the door says you're not coming in, and you have to just turn your back and move on, right? So that's the first thing I believe everybody must come to terms with. Rejection is part of life, and more often than not, you'll at least experience one form of rejection. Then the second thing I would say is when it comes to rejection, it's important that you have a solid support system. The main things I could say, but I want to just say this and then allow you share what you have in your mind. Because one of the benefits of having loved ones like your parents, your siblings, is that when you, for example, the example that I gave earlier, as a child, you want to play with some other people, some other children, they say they don't want to play with you. You don't just go and sit down somewhere. There's someone to run to, and that person, your parents. And when you go there, when you go to meet your parents, what you experience is love, acceptance, understanding. The same principle applies even as an adult. It's important to have people or a structure, or that you can go to where you experience any form of rejection and you receive acceptance, because that balances out. But if you don't have any structure, anyone who can accept you when you face rejection in any shape or form, then it's more devastating. You wouldn't know how to handle it, because sometimes it takes another person's acceptance to help you deal with rejection.
Absolutely. Since we're already talking about the processing or how to reframe it, I want to reflect on something that you would be surprised about. But I remember being in primary school and preparing for this national entrance examination. My first brother, the eldest, did common entrance examination and got accepted into this school called Faith Academy, right? And you know, in Nigeria, or at least I would say generally, the firstborn kind of sets the precedent for the school
Yeah.
that the remaining
The younger
children will
siblings.
go
Yeah.
to.
Yeah.
So my second brother applied, did the common entrance, and did not pass, and ended up going into another school, which is BMJS.
Mm-hmm.
And then when it got to my turn, I also wrote the common entrance, and I really wanted to go to
Faith
Faith
Academy.
Academy, the other secondary school
Yeah.
where my eldest brother was attending, because I had gone there, I had seen how, should I say, advanced
Mm-hmm.
the school looked. It just felt like it would be me, like it would be so me, the school. But I did not pass. My brother Olumide did not pass. And so both of us ended up going to another secondary school. If we did not go to that secondary school, me and you would never have met. Do you know that?
Do you know that? Did I also tell you that I wrote the common entrance of Faith Academy? Have I ever said it to you?
No.
Okay, so then I'm telling you for the first time. Actually, I did the common entrance of Faith Academy, and when I went there, felt like this was my
It's
high
such a
school.
nice, like, the
I
environment,
remember
the
this
tarred roads, the, oh
vividly.
my god,
I did Faith Academy actually. I did Faith Academy common entrance, but I didn't pass it.
their standard was so high.
Yes, and then I had to do Babington Macaulay Junior Seminary. And what you're saying is so true, because if I wasn't rejected from, or if I didn't pass, let me not just say rejection, because there's rejection and there's also not passing, right? But either way,
It's still rejection. They said no
they
now.
said
They
no,
said you are not
you're
good
not good
enough
enough.
by the standards of the school.
Yeah,
So
and
yeah,
we definitely wouldn't have
I've met.
met.
And
And
here we are, like, more than 10 years after,
yeah,
just
for way
reflecting
more than
on,
10 years. Yeah.
yeah, just reflecting on how that rejection was sort of a redirection.
That's good.
So I think it's a very important lesson that sometimes when a door closes, it's for our own protection, it's for our
Yes.
own preservation,
Yes.
and it doesn't make sense. Even look at your job, like the one that you went to Munich for. If you had gotten that offer, I would have had to lose my own job,
Like it
and
could have
then we
changed a
would
lot of
we would
things.
have to move,
Yeah. So many
and the
things.
standard of living, the cost of living in that city is way higher than where we are currently. And so looking back, I'm sure you're like, thank God they rejected me, because if they did not reject you, you wouldn't have applied to the other company that you eventually got accepted in, like got a job offer for.
Mm-hmm.
So it's very interesting. I must say though that in that moment, it doesn't usually make sense.
Yeah.
It's painful, it's emotionally stressful to deal with the rejection, but it's a good point to kind of say that, you know what, actually this thing not working out might be a good thing after all, because I don't know what the future holds, but I know that it will work out for my good.
Yes. And that is honestly how I think. That is how I believe everyone should. I mean, maybe not everyone, but if you're a child of God, if you're a Christian and you read the Bible, then you must believe that all things work together for your good. The rejection is working together for your good.
Mhm.
So just with joy, accept it, And there's some rejections that you might need to press a little more for the door to open, because there's some times where you get rejected and it's not always redirection, it might just be persistence. Because there's a story in the Bible where Jesus was teaching about being persistent in your faith and in your prayer, and he was talking about an unjust judge, that a woman was coming, and she came the first time saying, "Hey, avenge my case, avenge my case." And the woman got rejected by the judge, and then she went and then she came back and then pressed on the judge, "Hey, avenge my case." She did that repeatedly until when the judge said, "Hey, I don't want this woman to keep disturbing me. I'm going to accept and do what she needs me to do for her." So there is also a place where rejection means persist, go back, knock. It's like go, prepare, go back again. And there's sometimes where rejection means redirection. We need to be discerning to know what the rejection is telling us and what we need to do at those moments. It's not easy. it's easier said than done, but we must always learn how to frame and understand what rejection is telling us. I had a friend who was also rejected severally while he was applying to a job. This guy has so much skills and he was applying for a junior role and he got rejected many times because he was trying to like say, oh, I'm trying to enter the job market. I don't want to like say this is where I am. But then when he shows them his portfolio, they're like, this is good, but sorry, we can't. And so the guy said, okay, he went back and then he started asking himself many questions and sought help. Then he realized, oh, I think I'm not supposed to be applying for a junior role. I'm supposed to apply for a senior role, and then he went for that. So sometimes it's that case. So rejection is part of life. We must learn how to handle it. We must learn how to respond intelligently when we experience rejection.
No, absolutely. As we wrap up, it's a good thing that you mentioned the aspect of improving, right? That sometimes rejection can be an indicator that you need to change something, you need to change strategy. It's not just going and saying, you know what, okay, it's a
It is what
redirection.
it is.
I'm gonna stop and
Mm-hmm.
reroute. Sometimes it's really knocking on the same door,
Yes.
but refining yourself, developing your skills and all that. I remember when I was applying for jobs in Germany, like with each rejection, I would do a retrospection and be like, okay, what could I have done better? Even though most of the time I didn't really get concrete feedback from these hiring teams,
Recruiters, yeah.
they don't really say much. They say a lot, but nothing. So I would just retrospect and be like, okay, maybe I could have answered this in a better way, and then I go back to my drawing book, see what I can do better, and over time I got better.
Yeah.
And when the right opportunity came, I was very prepared.
Yeah.
So rejection can also be a sign for you to do more work on yourself and keep
Yeah.
preparing, improving.
Yeah.
Yes. So to wrap up, if listeners or our peeps, so to speak, are to take away one thing from all that we have said today,
What will it be?
what will it be?
It will be in two, I would give two sentences. Rejection is a part of life. Accept it. And then second is rejection should not break you. It should make you. That's it.
Yeah, for me, I would say it's good to separate yourself and your feeling from the rejection itself. Take a step back and look at the situation without putting you as the victim, as the main actor, because sometimes it's not about you. And even if it is, making it about you and amplifying that emotion is not going to help you.
Mm-hmm.
So take a step back, process it, see what you can learn from it, and move on. Don't stay in that emotion. Don't allow it to break you.
Yeah.
Separate yourself from it and see that it can actually help you to be a better person.
And sorry, I just thought about this because I think people know this, but it's good to say it. If you need help, reach out. If you need therapy, get therapy. Whatever you need to heal mentally, do it. Sometimes it's about just speaking to someone. Yeah, that's what I wanted to add. Thank you.
Okie dokie. And that's it for this week's episode. We hope that you enjoyed it. And if you did, you know what is coming next. You need to share it.
Like,
You need to subscribe to our
comment.
platforms. You need to leave a comment. You guys are not leaving comments anymore. Why is that? Why is that?
Feel free to leave a
Please,
comment on
guys.
Spotify, also on YouTube, because I know someone reached out one time and said, oh, I wish Apple Podcast could give the option of leaving comment because the person uses Apple Podcast. But guess what? We are on YouTube also, and YouTube gives the opportunity for comments and discussion. So if you search for Let's Toast to Life podcast on YouTube, you should find us and leave a comment.
Yeah, let us know what resonated most with you. Let us hear if and what rejection means to you
And how you
and how
handle it.
you've handled it, So we'd love to hear from you. Okay, dokie, till we come your way next time. Don't forget to toast to life and enjoy yourself. Speak soon.
Blessings. Cheers.
Toodles.